So I wake up in the morning, right, and I've got my Facebook profile, Gwilym Roberts. So usually what I do is I log on as Gwilym Roberts when I'm at home, over coffee, and just look at things. So there's notifications here, activity that's gone on around me, there's messages, there's any friend requests and things like that. What I'll then do is type in Relate Milton Keynes as my page and see what sort of activity there's been on it. So we'll see here that there hasn't been any likes. People can like what I've posted just as a sort of easy thing to say, oh yes, I've read that and it's alright. Or they can comment on it, or they can choose to post it onto their profile. I put something on, was it yesterday? No, Monday, because I wasn't in the office yesterday, about David Cameron having come to Milton Keynes, and he happened to mention that, you know, I mean, who's not going to say this, but families are important and the government wants to do something about supporting families, so I thought, it's relevant to Relate, I will pop it on. There's sometimes quite tenuous links as to what I pop on, but in my head I'm always trying to think, oh, would I be interested in reading this? Or is my fantasy that the sort of people who like, the 507 people who have liked Relate Milton Keynes, are they going to appreciate this sort of thing, really? Notice here as well that I'm not directly saying Relate offers counselling. If you've got a problem with your relationship, call us up, we're here, you'll get an appointment really quickly, blah blah blah. I'm not saying those sort of things, and I very, very rarely do say those sort of things. Because my thinking is that if people are really interested in accessing my service, then they'll either click on the information bit, which does have details of how to contact us, but I'm not going to bang on about it all the time and shove it down people's throat, because if you go on about it enough, people just stop listening. So, I say again, I rarely mention sort of what we might think of as direct selling, you know. My interest here is about just a regular drip drip. So, you know, the heart is quite a distinctive picture. It's got our branding underneath. Relate is quite a well-known brand. So my agenda here is just to keep Relate in people's mind on a semi-regular basis, in the hope that if they ever perceive that they'll need our services, they'll make time to find out how to contact me. So I'm not pushing that. Oh, and you know, so I put other things like no wonder we're so busy at the moment, about a report that unhappy families in the UK were the second worst in Europe or something, you know. How many times a day couples argue. This is the local thing. This is about a local mediation service doing a dog walking thing in Willen Lake, and the issue here is about who gets the dog when people get divorced. And it's a marketing coup, actually, I think, because we're going to feel a lot more sorry for dogs than we do about kids, unfortunately. And it's pulling on people's heartstrings, and it's a very real issue, you know, in terms of divorce is a traumatic thing, and there's loads of implications. So you do have to think, if you've got two dogs, do you split them up, or if you get one, do you get visiting rights, and children, and property, and there are people out here, including Relate and other partners, to help, you know. And then there's sometimes videos. So one of my big passions, I suppose you could call it, is domestic violence. And one of the reasons I do talk about that a lot on Relate Facebook is that I think it's a thing that not many people know that we're very interested in. You know, so I know that a third of our clients come with issues of domestic violence, and I know that we've got an okay to very good way of dealing with it. But not many people out there do know that. And I also know that most people think of us as being a couple counselling organisation, because we used to be called the Marriage Guidance Council. So also in the back of my head is that I need to talk about our family counselling work, or the specific work we do with young people, or sex therapy, sex addiction, those sort of things. I'll talk about them more because I think, and I know, people don't know that about me as much, yeah, about my organisation. But again, it's a sort of indirect way of doing it. There's little videos that you can put on. Oh look, Gareth Pacitti like that. This will be about exam stress.
At different times. Some are more well known than others. And so
etc, etc. And the reason I put that on is that I know that lots of kids are doing exams at the moment and they're going to be feeling anxious. But it's also nice because it relates to everybody as well, you know. I also, looking here, I try and do things about different isms, you know. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense talked about equalities, but I think really when it boils down to it, what I've got to bear in mind in the stuff that I'm putting on is, are all the images of a certain sort of person? You know, and if they are, then that's a problem, because what I want to do is, and it's mostly financial, I must admit, appeal to a larger market share. So I want as many of the population of Milton Keynes to be interested in potentially buying my service as possible. So I'm going to make efforts to make sure that I'm dealing with specific issues. So, you know, there's presumably a lot of Jewish people in Milton Keynes, so I want to put something on there that specifically addresses Jewish issues around weddings and marriage. I quite often, because I'm very interested anyway, put a lot of gay-related things on. Again, because most people would assume that we don't work with the gays, whereas actually we love the gays. So, you know, anything around disability and relationships or anything like that, I immediately put that on. And the other thing I can do, to varying success rates, so we're talking about stuff that hasn't worked as well, this is a good example. As Relate page, I can create events. And the last one I created was about this, which is a training course that we're putting on. It's counselling skills, starting on the 25th of June, and it's 4-day training, so Saturday and Sunday, another Saturday and Sunday. It's very expensive, it's £270 per place. I haven't had anyone inquire wanting to pay the full whack, and we've had 4 people inquire wanting a bursary. So it looks like, and I think I took the decision this morning, that we're going to cancel that. Nevertheless, it didn't take me much time to create this page. The only person I'm going to annoy really is the trainer who's agreed to this, but I'm giving him enough advance notice that it won't annoy him too much. So I suppose it's quite a simple way of marketing to 500 odd people that are part of my network. And people could then say that whether they're attending or not, which means nothing in the whole scheme. I'm going to say you're not attending, yeah? Mm-hmm. But once you click yes, no or maybe, then, oh, the reason I can't see this is because I'm logged in as you, but here I would be able to see a guest list, because this is my event, if I wasn't Gareth there, yeah? Of who said yes, no or maybe, and then I can get someone to chase them up for payment or not. So, to go back, pictures, got lovely photos. Here we did a project about getting young people to describe living in a household with domestic violence, and we explored the concept of decorating a front door. So it was this idea of behind closed doors, and it's trying to engage with people for what is, you know, a very serious issue for many people in an accessible way. So that's why I like it, getting people talking about it, and they're very bright images to be using on our Facebook page. So I popped them up.